that's in action now. So with this wheel here, turning it to the left gently until it touches the bell. Well, you start to see some sparks. As you see here at the moment, there's a fair bit of sharpening, and this will take a few times to do. We don't want to overdo it. If we get much more sparks than that, we're pretty much overdoing it. So it's better to just take your time, not overheat things, and let that go for a bit. What we should start to see here now is a new line starting to show up on the bell as we sharpen. It's about maximum what you can hear there now. Okay? If the sparks appear to drop off, either it needs to be moved in a little bit further again, but you do have to check your stone every now and again. So when you want to check it, don't just turn it off here while it's sharpening, because that'll be up against the blade, won't be very good. So what you have to do first, make sure you back it off, turn it to the right, okay? No more sparkling, the stone is no longer touching the bell. Now we can turn it off and turn the machine off. Have a look. Does the stone look like it's all grotty in that? No, it's looking pretty good, pretty clean. So what we'll do is we'll come back in a couple of more minutes once this bevel starts to reach down to the front, and then we'll have another look at it. Okay, back soon. Back again, just having another look. Still got a fair ways to go here from the screen. But if you find that aside from the pressure, you don't want to put too much pressure on it, so occasionally what I'll do is I'll lightly rub over the stone, make sure that it's clean, and then therefore getting a good clean sharpen at this stage. I normally do this a few times rather than go too much in one hit. I like to let it cool down a little bit in between. So I'll back it off, turn it off, and give it a couple of minutes to cool down. Just feel the bell. Okay, it's not feeling very warm, so it should be right to keep going. One of the things I do recommend, if some people are not aware of what this thing is here, strangely, maybe they don't look at the manual, or I'm not sure if the manual mentions it, but in here there's that's a protector cover for an oil hole. Right, in there, occasionally put a few drops of oil down in there, and it's a good time to be doing that now. If I can find some oil. Okay. This is your main lubrication for that front shaft. So you see here I'm just putting a few drops down. Once you finish that, you don't want rubbish and stuff getting in there, and that's why this covers, I normally put it around the other way like that. Okay, so we'll go back to the sharpening, I think. Alright, turn him on, engage it, and bring it forward. Okay, back again, probably 3 or 4 minutes. And I've just put a bit of nickel on the bell there, and it's to show when I get going. Putting a bit on the run, but it doesn't generally work too well that way. Okay, gives us a little bit of an idea. Now bring it back into the sharpening mode again, and we'll have a look and just see if we reach the edge. A little bit. When you get to the end of the sharpening, you see that that's sharpening fairly heavily. Just back it off. Turn it back a little bit, lift back a little bit, until it's only sharpening fairly lightly, and that'll give a cleaner edge. Unless you're doing something really, really coarse and rough, the most finer type edges you want the sharpening to be fairly smooth. So by backing it off like that, you should get it reasonably smooth. Okay. Just take it off, disengage it, turn him off, and we'll have a look and see if we can see the nickel mark at all. Okay, I'm not seeing it there, so I'd say we've reached the limit. Okay, what we'll do, I'll just put the thing back on there. Now we have to just check and do a little bit of dressing. We have to be quite careful when we're dressing. I'll just get the light in a better position. Up in there, there's a brass deflector bell, which should be set at about 15mm from the edge of the bell, and that's roughly where I've got it there at the moment. A little hard to see, unfortunately. We'll come back and look at that in another video, where to set that. At this stage, what I'm going to attempt to do is, this is the dressing stone stick. Right, a oil stone, whatever you want, and we just got to touch it on the inside of the bell here reasonably straight on to remove any burr that may have happened in there. There's 2 ways of doing this, but I'm showing you this one, mostly because a lot of people don't all have the stone feeds. Some people have got steel feeds, some have rubber feeds, and that you can't do it the other method without with a rubber one or a steel one, because you'll wreck the bell. So in this case here, I'm going to do it the dressing one. Okay, machine's back on, stone into place, and doesn't take a lot as a general rule. Okay, I'm rubbing in there, you hear the noise, just drag it out towards you. If you've put a big chip in the bell, you can come straight in on the edge of it a bit and true the whole front up, and then come in, clean up. You see, occasionally you might just get a little spark. Okay, that should have removed the bell, but we now need to come back and just do a little bit of clean up on that front edge again. So very, very slowly, just bring it in a little bit, and that should be it. Okay, turn it off. Now, one thing I didn't cover very well before, and I'll try and do it a bit better now, is that you see here the gap. When I pull this out, that moves the stone back and forward. and there's a locking bolt there that can be undone. With a little bit of movement, and I'll move this here, it's hard to show both at the same time, you'll notice the distance between the bell and the feed stone. Slide a little better maybe. Yep. Okay. Although you can just pull it in and out, that's not much good for doing what we want to do here. We're going to have to set this, and for most finer leathers and that, we've got to get that in fairly fine. If I were using the other bell dressing method, we can bring it up so it just ever so slightly touches the inside of the bell like that while it's running, and that'll remove the burr. I only ever generally do that if there's a fairly big burr and there's been a big chip to clean up and it's been a big job. In this case though, all I want to do is get the setting about right. So what I'll do is I put a piece of paper in here, right. Be very careful with your fingers doing this because it will be horribly sharp and cut you quite easily. Okay, now I'll back that off. Okay, see now I'm just starting to see it touching the paper. So when I pull that paper, if I've got it near right, it should just pull out there. You see we've got a very small gap. So now I'll bring the lock nut in, tighten it, double check. Looks like we've got a small clearance, yes. Right, now if I wasn't holding the camera at the same time, which is pretty tricky, I'll have to put the camera down for a second, lift that out, put the paper back in there. Okay, I've got the paper in now, and I'll just feel it back and forward. A little bit of clearance there. That's probably good for medium type leather. Could be a smidgen closer. Right, for fine leather. Okay, I like to run it pretty close as a rule, but we'll give it a go at about that. So, okay, we'll bring the guide forward. Just give me a second. Okay, I've got the guide forward. Bring that down, have a look at that setting, and it's a pretty fine setting. And we'll open him out a touch. Okay, once again, lock nut that in place, and we'll have a little test. I've got some leather here which I think is about 2mm. Turn him on. In this case it's this machine's a little bit different to some that are on the market. This one here, we've run the feed for the bell separately, so it's always turning at a nice constant speed. I think around 1200 to 1300 revs a minute. And also we have the suction, which helps a lot in stopping the leather from coming back up and around, and keeps all the dust and everything out of your face. Okay, let's see, we just do a little start, have a feel of it. Okay, that didn't feel too bad, so okay, looks like I'm doing a fairly heavy sky. Now I'm only doing this fairly slow at the moment because I also use this a bit like a dressage, so we're doing a fairly wide and very thin sky. Going fancy with the camera. Okay, you see I'm not pulling it through, shouldn't need to pull it through, it should. Okay, what have we achieved? It shouldn't look too choppy. Okay, I'll open this out a bit further to the other side so we don't have such a sharp sky. Make sure that's all working right. Okay. Now we can take him down a smidgen there. Everything's turning alright. Okay, we'll give that a go. In here. Okay. Looking pretty good. Drop back a bit further. Okay. Alright, what have we got? Looks like a pretty decent sky. See the edge. Double check that we got everything nice and sharp, and just adjust that down to where it looks like it's fairly level, and we'll try and use it a bit like a splitter. Okay, right, drop the guide back out of the way a touch, and if it's really good and sharp, the guide will only be partially needed. As you see here, I can come up the middle of where I just was before. And we've taken the middle out there. So that now 2mm piece of leather is moment. Thanks for watching. Just one last thing I forgot to mention before. I removed this cover here, which is on our machine. It just makes it easier for me to be able to take pictures of what I'm doing. They are a good assistant in keeping the vacuum working well on any machine with a vacuum. Okay. If you contact your dealer, they're quite inexpensive actually. Okay. Bye.